So are you tired of your SRE team being glorified firefighters? If you're a senior architect working on GCP, you've probably felt that there has to be a better way than just keeping the lights on. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into exactly how you can shift your team from that reactive chaos to some really proactive, intentional engineering. Let's get into it.
Does this whole scene sound a little too familiar? The pager goes off at 3 a.m., and it's a false alarm. Your best engineers are just buried in tickets, chasing symptoms instead of actually building the future of your platform. It's this endless cycle of reaction, right? A total swamp of noise where the real critical signals are completely drowned out. If that hits close to home, hey, you're not alone. But the important thing is, we can change it. Let's talk about how.
Okay, so the way out of this is a really deliberate shift in your entire operational model. We're talking about moving away from a culture of reaction, where you feel like you're always playing catch-up, and into a culture of proactivity, where you are engineering reliability into your systems right from the very beginning.
And this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of it. In that reactive world, the big metric everyone obsesses over is MTTR, mean time to recovery. Basically, how fast can we put out the fire? You're just drowning in alerts, and most of them are noise. The whole goal is just to get the service back up. But the proactive model, it flips that entire script. We're not just trying to fix things faster. We're trying to stop them from breaking in the first place. Think of it this way. Instead of getting really good at patching a leaky roof every single time it rains, you engineer a roof that just doesn't leak.
So how do we actually get there? This is where it starts to get really practical. It all begins with your alerts. I mean it. A proactive strategy is built on a solid foundation of high signal, low noise alerting. Because if your alerts aren't meaningful, your entire SRE practice is basically built on sand.
And this just captures the difference perfectly. A bad alert is all about the machine. CPU is at 90%. But does that actually matter to the user? Maybe, maybe not. This is what directly causes alert fatigue. A good alert, on the other hand, is all about the user experience. It's tied directly to your service level objectives. It tells you something like, hey, your error budget is burning way too fast, and if this keeps up, you're going to break your promise to your users. Now that is an alert that gets your attention. It's simple, really. Stop alerting on causes and start alerting on symptoms of actual user pain.
Okay, so you've done the work. You've got these high-quality, user-centric alerts all set up. So what happens when one of them actually fires? Well, the goal isn't to sound the general alarm and have everyone panic. The goal is to kick off a calm, structured, and purposeful response. Because now you know this alert means there's a real threat to your users.
So, picture this. A latency SLO violation alert fires. The clock starts now. Within 5 minutes, the on-call engineer is already triaging. Is this real? What's the customer impact? They assign an incident commander. By the 15-minute mark, the team is already deep into the investigation, using their tools to find the root cause. And by 30 minutes, they're actively deploying a fix to mitigate the impact. See? This isn't a frantic scramble, it's a practiced, methodical workflow in action.
So how do you pull off that kind of investigation so efficiently? Well, on GCP, a fantastic mental model is the what, why, and where framework. Your dashboards tell you what is happening. Okay, we're seeing a latency spike across the entire US East region. Your logs tell you why. Aha, we're seeing a flood of database connection timeout errors. And your traces tell you where the bottleneck is. It's this one specific microservice in the checkout flow that's hanging. What, why, where? It's simple, but it's an incredibly powerful way to approach any incident.
But here's the thing. A great response isn't really enough. The real goal is to need that amazing response as infrequently as possible. And that brings us to the truly proactive part of all this. We don't just wait for real incidents to test our systems. We build resilience intentionally by practicing for failure before it ever happens in production.
And this is where we enter the world of chaos engineering. Now, I know it sounds a little scary, but it's really a disciplined, scientific practice. It's all about injecting small, controlled failures into your system so you can find the weaknesses before your users do. It's how you build real, actual confidence that your systems can handle the unexpected.
So, how do you actually practice for failure? Well, there are two main ways to go about it. Think of drills like a fire drill. You're in a safe, non-production environment, and you're testing your people and your processes. Do our runbooks even make sense? Is our communication chain clear? Chaos days, though, they're more like a controlled burn. You're intentionally and very carefully starting a small fire in production to see how the system itself responds. Does our auto-remediation actually kick in? Does traffic fail over the way we expect? You need both. They're both absolutely critical for building a truly resilient service.
All right, we've talked about alerting, response, and practice.
But let's be super clear. None of this works without the most critical component of all, the right culture. The technology is just an enabler. The true foundation of SRE is and always will be the people.
And these 4 pillars, they're completely non-negotiable. First, psychological safety. If your engineers are afraid to experiment or even just admit they made a mistake, you will never learn. Second, blameless postmortems. The goal is to fix systems, not to point fingers. The question is never who did this, it's why did our system allow this to happen? Third, shared ownership. Reliability isn't just the SRE team's job, it's everyone's job, from product all the way to platform. And finally, making decisions with data. Your gut feeling is great for a lot of things, but it's a terrible way to set your SLOs. You need data.
So if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. Proactive SRE is not a tooling problem, it's a culture problem. You can have the fanciest dashboards and the most sophisticated alerting in the world, but if you don't have the culture to support it, you'll just always be firefighting. This is about fundamentally changing how your entire organization thinks about and owns reliability.
And that really brings us to the end. I want to leave you with a challenge, not a summary. Take a hard look at your systems, your runbooks, and your team. What's the one failure, a database outage, a network partition, a key service going down that you're just not fully prepared for? Now, what's the first failure you're going to practice for?